persons will be members of parliament representing us in the 13th parliament. Jaretta Finance, Ganesh Mahipal, Nima Flubes, Saiku Andrews, Riaz Rupnarayan, Dexter Todd, Sharma Solomon, David Hines, Coretta MacDonald, Vince Roy Jordan, Terence Campbell, and Sherrod Duncan. I've also identified the persons to represent us at the regional level for all the regions. That has been signed off and it's on its way to the relevant authorities. As I said before, I will not be returning to Parliament, but I will continue as leader of the People's National Congress Reform. I will work to continue the rebuilding of the party. Like I said in the statement I made after the elections, our party is like a good oak tree. It will re-emerge and re-emerge stronger and better. I will preside over the party and ensure that I put the mechanisms in place so that by the time we arrive at the next elections, we are well structured, we will be ready, and the new blood in the party will take over the party. I hope that is an indication that I have no intention of running for the presidency in the future. And so I see the task at this stage as preparing the party for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take questions. I have Ms. Khadija Ba, Stabrook News.
Good morning, Mr. Norton.
Good morning.
Just three questions. Could you maybe say why you decided to not return to Parliament? Secondly, is APNU willing to cooperate with WIN to ensure accountability by the government? And the third
If I didn't hear the second one, if the APNU is what?
Is APNU willing to cooperate with WIN to ensure accountability by the government? And could you maybe say what is the role of Mr. Terence Campbell? Thank you.
Now, as to why I'm not returning to Parliament, I believe I've served. I believe we are blooding a new team, and therefore I thought in the circumstance that an opportunity should be given to somebody else. If one is looking to the future, I don't see why is it I should sit in the National Assembly at this stage, knowing full well that my intention is not to move forward and be as active as I used to be, but undertaking the task to rebuild the party. And so I don't think I need to be in Parliament to undertake that task. Now, as it relates to WIN, we are ready to cooperate with any group to ensure that there is transparency and accountability in the management of our affairs. We have made it clear during the campaign that we want to see integrity in public life, and where it's necessary, we will cooperate. As it relates to Mr. Terence Campbell, he is going to be leading the Parliament, APNU parliamentary group in the Parliament.
Thank you. I see the hand of Mr. Dennis Sherraw. We're not hearing you, Mr. Sherraw.
Good morning.
Yes.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we are
Good
now.
morning.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Norton. Mr. Norton, can you say to what extent do you believe that the political representation or configuration of the Guiding Elections Commission should now change in light of the outcome of the general elections? And what do you envisage APNU's relationship with WIN on issues such as national issues such as constitutional appointments and border matters with Venezuela and Suriname?
Okay, as it relates to the election, I am very clear in my mind, and I've said it all before, you cannot have a free and fair elections with an election commission that is biased and a chairman that is biased. So to me, going forward, we need a proper independent commission. I have no doubt that there were a lot of irregularities and illegalities in these elections, and a lot of it can be placed squarely at the feet of GCOM. So I think that there's a need for a total change as it relates to the Elections Commission. As it relates to the composition of the Elections Commission, I see no problem with the system if it is allowed to work. If one remembers that you had 3-3, but the chairman did not play the role of arbiter. The chairman played the role of consensus building, conciliation, etc. The problem at present is that the chairman has become an arbiter, and therefore it is the will of the government alone, because the chairman votes with the government, and we are where we are. As it relates to when, like in the previous answer, we're in opposition, we have to work together. I don't see how you could be in opposition and don't work together. It doesn't follow, however, that on every issue we will agree. As it relates to the Ghana-Venezuela territorial controversy, I wasn't sure what is the question you're asking. It
No,
needs.
I was asking what do you envisage your relationship would win in dealing with national issues such as constitutional appointments and the border matters with Guyana and surrounding Guyana and Venezuela.
Okay, but that answer was given in the first question. I also believe that we have, at least in our party, a number of people who are skilled in diplomacy as it relates to the Ghana-Venezuela territorial controversy, and I believe that we will impact on this issue in the parliament and on the wider field. For instance, I will be working with our team to ensure that they understand the various issues as they relate to the Ghana-Venezuela territorial controversy and be able to be supportive when it is absolutely necessary or when it is necessary. I believe the biggest problem Guyana has is the Ghana-Venezuela territorial controversy, and therefore we have to be united on it. But at the same time, the government will have to come off of its high horses if it hopes to get the kind of cooperation and support that is needed.
Thank you.
And a follow-up, sir, in relation to GCOM, what I was trying to understand from you is whether, I know you talked broadly about GCOM reform and so on, but I'm trying to get from you, given the composition of GCOM at this time, whether you believe that any or all of the 3 commissioners who were nominated by the opposition previously should now make way for new nominees, given the new configuration emerging out of the 2025.
Okay, the question is much more explicit. Now, the law determines that, as far as I understand it. I don't remember if it's 1998 or 99, but we agreed on a permanent commission. As far as I'm aware, there's nobody with the authority to move anybody from the commission, except the person on the commission decides that that person is going. There is no law to move them.
Will you persuade any of them to resign and make way for a newer composition in light of the outcome of the elections?
Well, I don't know that I want to do that.
Why not?
Because I don't think it is the best thing for me to do at this stage.
All right, thank you. Ms. Abina Rockcliffe.
Good morning, Abina Rockcliffe, Ghana Standard. I have 2 questions. Mr. Martin, I'm trying to understand what would Dr. Campbell's leadership of the APNU team in Parliament look like? Would it be in consultation with you as the leader of APNU, or would he be executing his vision in shepherding the flock? The other question is, you want to answer that first?
Yes, we campaign with a manifesto. We campaign with clear ideas of where we're headed. We are part of a political party, and therefore it has to be a situation where the party develops its policies and everyone operate within the confines of the party's policies and programs. Of course, there is always scope for some amount of individualism, because when you stand at a say a podium after parliamentary activity and questions are asked, you have to have the ability to answer them and move forward. So I just think that he will be guided by the party's policy, but he will be, in fact, the leader of the group in parliament.
Thank you.
Sir, a tactic that we see that was used a lot of times in the life of the last parliament was that the opposition, being that the configuration at the time, it would walk out on issues where they don't agree with. Understanding that the government still can move ahead with what they want in any case, because they have the majority. Is it your intention to promote a different approach this time, where you stay and hold them more accountable? That's one. And the other question, I want to know, are you going to still run for Congress at the next? Is that your intention?
Let me start with
Because, like you said,
let me start with the last one. The PNC will determine what happens at the next Congress. I'm not going to say X, Y, or Z. As it relates to walkout, walkout is only one option that is utilized in Parliament. And even when we walked out, the government still had the majority. Do not forget the last government had the majority, though it's only by one seat. So, but in terms of the tools that will be used to hold the government accountable, that will be done in conjunction with the members of Parliament. And actually, they will have to sometimes make decisions right there, depending on the situation.
Thank
I
you.
know you basically answered this question before in how you say that you're rebuilding and everything. But would you say that the public would notice a different animal now coming out of the PNC and APNU in your aggression in moving forward?
Well, I don't know what you mean by a different animal, and I don't know.
Different strategies and tactics.
Well, obviously, you have to change your strategy and tactics,
Okay.
but that will be done in conjunction with the parliamentary group and the leadership of our party. And there are members of the coalition who will also have inputs and impact whatever decisions we make.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll take Mr. Antonio Day, then Ms. Williams.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Norton.
Good morning.
Everyone. My question is, given that you would have led an impactful campaign, but unfortunately did not get to secure the main opposition at the parliamentary level in our governance, what would be your different approach to restore that confidence in those supporters who may have feel downtrodden at this corporate event?
What I would say to you is this. We will be having a review. We have started a review. We met, all the candidates met. We have a review. We got another review session this afternoon with a smaller group. We will review it and we will develop our strategies and tactics. May I say this? One of the things that emerged that I've looked at, which never dawned on me before, was that in the 1957 elections, we did well. Then came the 1961 elections, in which the United Force emerged as a new party, and we lost seats to them. In 2006, the AFC came as a new party, and we lost seats to them again. In 2025, WIN came as a new party, and we lost seats to them. I think we have to review how we operate with new parties, among other things, and to understand the phenomenon of why when new parties emerge, our support base seems to go in another direction, because it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's the third time. It has happened under the leadership of Forbes Burnham, it happened under the leadership of Robert Corbyn, and now under my leadership. So it is something we'll have to analyze and look at it, how we move forward. It is also probably signaling, that our support base might be more welcoming of new persons and we have to analyze it and get to the bottom of it and then develop our strategies and tactics.
Mr. Norton, my last question. Given that your party will still have a say at the parliamentary level, although you may not be present in parliament, what are some of the issues, the core issues that you would like to see addressed at the parliamentary level? Because I know that the European Union, in their preliminary report, have raised concerns about unfair competition when it comes to parties participating at the electoral cycle, and secondly, campaign financing. Do you foresee one of the core issues that you will raise at the parliamentary level?
Now, I would prefer to engage with our members of parliament. Let us develop our approach and then go into the public domain with how we approach it. I don't believe it is the best thing for me to sit here, having said I'm not going back to parliament, and try and tie the hands and feet of those coming into the parliament by pronouncing on what we will do and what will be our focus. I don't believe that that could be a good approach. My approach will be to engage the members of parliament, the executive of our party, etc., and we work out how we move forward and give the freedom to the parliamentary group. The only thing I will insist on in this parliamentary group is discipline as it relates to the party.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Thank you. Good morning. Mr. Martin, could you say if Mr. Hines has renounced his U.S. citizenship? And secondly, could you say why Mr. Campbell was chosen over Mr. Danish Michael, who is a party stalwart?
Why who was chosen?
For the to lead the parliament.
Oh, first question, I don't have to tell anyone why we arrive at a decision. The decision lies within this party, and that decision has been made. I don't have to give any explanation as to why. Once we in the party are satisfied, then that will be done. As it relates to citizenship, you seem to have spoken from the standpoint of knowledge that David Hines is an American citizen. As far as I'm aware, he's not, and any other question you'll have to direct to him.
Thank you.
And one more question from me. Mr. Martin, I'm sure you would have seen the recent comments made by former Finance Minister, Mr. Jordan, in stating that you should step down. Given the glaring absence from key former coalition government officials, do you believe that their absence contributed to the outcome that the party faced at the polls?
I have
And,
I have said before that we have a process ongoing to analyze the situation. There are a multiplicity of reasons why anything could have happened, and I'm not the kind who is going to just go down and condemn or comment on anything. I read what Jordan said, and the press in handling it select what they wanted, which is normal for them. But I would not go down that road at this stage.
Thank you. Mr. Kimal King?
Thank you. Good morning. Kimal King for Granite Standard. Mr. Norton, aside from your comments about the fairness and credibility of the 2025 election, or lack thereof, with respect to the operation of the APNU in the 2020 to 2025 term, to what would you personally attribute the losses of your party as observed in the results of the elections?
I didn't get the question. What did you what?
Specific to how the APNU has conducted itself as an opposition over the past 5 years, to what would you attribute the losses of your party as observed in the results of the election?
I just said to you that we'll have a complete review, and after that review, we will pronounce. I don't want to prematurely look. When you're reviewing something like an election, the candidate will have to be reviewed. The structures will have to be reviewed. The history will have to be reviewed. We'll have to review how the glass government impact, a number of things. So I don't want to go down pronouncing on that.
Thank you. Secondly, what do you think the APNU can learn from WIN as a brand new party, which seems to have inspired and taken so much from your support base. And I note the comments you made previously about other new parties which came and participated in elections and took seats from you. But I think you'd agree that the performance of the WIN and the losses of your party are extraordinary in this election.
All I would say to you, the major lesson to be learned from this election is that the next election you're going to, you have to have a war chest to match the money, because money is playing a more critical role in elections now than policies, programs, etc.
Thank you.
All right. Miss Tamika Garnett.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have a question. I want to start with asking Mr. Nancy, you mentioning that the party will be undergoing a review process to look back at how the election was and what could be changed going forward or whatever amendments could be made. Can you say if any sort of timeline has been put to that review process? And on when the party may say like, okay, we'll do it within this time period?
There is no timeline put to it as far as I'm aware, but I know believe it is urgent and will be done with urgency. In fact, I said we commenced the process already.
Okay,
And may I point out that it doesn't follow that when we finish we will make it public.
okay, understood. For this election, we saw a low turnout at the September 11th polls, with some saying that the turnout were particularly low in the PNCR Avenue areas. Can you say what are your thoughts on this low turnout? What do you think led to some of the low turnout in the Avenue areas? And how do you plan going forward to address
Question.
building that confidence in the voters to
That-
turn out to the elections?
That will be
They didn't appear confident this year.
that will be part of the review. But one of the things I can tell you is anywhere in the world, including Guyana, where people believe an election is likely to be rigged and the outcome predetermined, there is the tendency for people to stay home.
Hi, yeah, my next question. Given the votes that we saw Miss Walton this year being able to draw in just her first showing at an election and having just started her party a few months ago, is there any regret in how the situation was handled that led to Miss Walton this year leaving, not only resigning from the party in June, but issues that she had, how things were dealt with, and she brought up issues since last year at the Congress? Would you still say that she was not bringing work to the party?
Well, I don't recall at which stage I said that she wasn't bringing word to the party. I can't recall making
So are
that.
you saying now that she was bringing work that you lost a good candidate when you lost this Walton?
I do not like speculating. Look, in elections, people get sympathy votes all. So why do I speculate on it? What we need to do is move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis Sherbrall.
Mr. Norton, could you say, you talked about the need for a war chest. Could you say that you probably did not get sufficient funds, given the party's relationship with the private sector? And regardless of your answer to that, what would be what relationship do you envisage with the private sector going forward to ensure that you have a proper war chest for the 2030 general elections? And sir, why didn't you press much harder for a new voters list, both politically and illegally?
Well, to ask us why we didn't press much harder, I can't say that we didn't press hard. You're dealing in a situation where the government knew full well that a change in the voters list would have meant a loss for them. And they insisted, and unless you had other options, what you faced is a situation in which, with a bloated list, the government has the advantage. And therefore, one has to continue to press for a clean voters list and ensure that there's change. And it's not only a clean voters list, but it is also biometrics to deal with impersonation.
Thank you.
But could you challenge this in court?
Well, I don't know if you followed it, but the judge had ruled that you couldn't remove names from the list. And the option that existed was for us and the government to go to Parliament and make the changes. And the government didn't opt for it. And I do not know that the matter was up for judicial review. In fact, there were cases that were filed and you had the same ruling. As it relates to the war chest, there are means by which resources could and will be raised. We will utilize them. I don't bring it down solely to the link between the private sector and us, because most of our financing came from the private sector. I would also say that in planning, one would have planned but not catered for the level of votes buy-in that occurred. That is an increasingly new phenomenon in which the political system has been further corrupted, and one has to take that into consideration moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Khadija?
Thank you so much. I just have one last question. I noticed in the list mentioned there are 11 PNC members and 1 WPA. Could you maybe say what led to there not being any representation from the other parties that have joined APNU?
We had to make a decision not only on parties, but on a group that can represent all of us. And when I looked at it and engaged with people, we thought that this was the best representation. I mean, to say it was only PNC is not true. You were well aware that before the elections, Jurette and a number of people joined us, and consideration was given to them based on the situation. And so I wouldn't say it is only PNC.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Garnett, is your hand up again? All right. Any final question? All right, with there.
Mr. Norton? Mr. Norton?
Yes,
Excuse me. In retrospect, do you believe that you should have probably yielded to the AFC's demands for the position of presidential candidacy?
Well, if you compare what we did with the AFC presidential candidate, the answer should be axiomatic.
Thank you.
But if you join forces, you yourself previously said that perhaps people did not see the fact that there was no coalition, and that may have resulted in low voter turnout. So
I agree. I agree totally that there was no coalition affected us, but that doesn't translate into the question of which presidential candidate. So, in my opinion, you just deliver non sequitur.
So you think the result would have been the same then if the presidential candidate was not yourself?
I felt if we had a coalition, we would have done better. I don't know how you arrive at the point of which presidential candidate, because if you were referring to the AFC, and I'm saying to you that we did better than the AFC. It's not something we celebrated, but it's a fact. And therefore, I don't believe that we need to address that issue. The issue that we had to address was coalition. I was all for coalition. I tried to be as flexible as possible, but had to be faced with the reality, and we just end up going separately. And in those separate endeavors, we have shown that we were much better than the others, though we would have liked to have a coalition.
Thank you. All right, as I said, that was our last question. I want to thank our media personnel for... Ms. Garnett, we just said that we had one
Give,
last.
give her the opportunity.
Go ahead.
Will the APNU be meeting with Win and Ms. Amanza, or having any sort of meeting to discuss any sort of a joint opposition strategy going forward? How will you be trying to establish a working relationship with the other opposition member of parliament?
We are politicians and we believe we have to engage to achieve our objectives, and we will engage as we see fit.
Thank you. Once again, I want to thank our media personnel for joining today's presser, and of course, you, our viewing audience, and all our social media platforms. Do have a wonderful day.